Elisapesi Baker is already a famous singer in Tonga, and now too she's one of only 16 women standing for election there next week out of a total field of just over 100 candidates.
This is a great opportunity to represent women, and not only to represent women, but to represent old age and also those of the very youngest ones.
Baker's also a direct descendant of Tonga's second Premier, Shirley Waldemar Baker, who was appointed in 1881 and controversially founded the Free Church of Tonga, which split the nation and ultimately led to his exile to Auckland in 1890.
The history of the Baker family has been always on the negative side, but I step up at this level to to take the family forward to something that is more positive.
Baker's profile is likely to help her win votes, though she is going up against Akalisi Pohiva, the veteran pro-democracy activist and MP, for whom this may be the last election and final crack at becoming Tonga's first People's PM. It's now 4 years since what was hailed as the island nation's first democratic election, the first since political reforms allocated 2/3 of its parliament's 26 seats to MPs elected by voters aged 21 and older. The King would no longer choose the Prime Minister too. Instead, he or she was to be elected by Parliament. In the end, though, Pohiva's party only won 12 of the 17 People's seats. Independents won the other 5, but sided with the 9 so-called nobles representatives, who were elected by just a few dozen wealthy lords, and who then installed one of their own as the new PM. Ever since, Pohiva's party has been racked by defections and infighting, and slowly disintegrated to the point that of its current candidates, only 2 were in Pohiva's 2010 caucus. He even dispensed with his deputy Isileli Pulu 3 months ago. Pulu told us the split is likely to mean even less unity in the next parliament.
I think it's going to be affected.
But one of the 2 MPs still with Pohiva, Simisi Sika, said the split was due to the nobles playing the people's MPs off against each other.
That's what's been going in the past 4 years. Our members were bought with luxuries and with the positions in cabinets. It's something very sad to think that we all come in principles to push the movement for democracy, and then some are falling apart.
Newspaper and radio owner Kalafi Moala says there's been a lot of public dissatisfaction over the past 4 years.
This current government is one of the worst we've had. There's been a government with no vision, with no real economic plan. They have taken the country down the drain. Corruption there's a lot of issues and cases concerning corruption by high officials. So this time there's a lot of high hopes that there will be a government of the people.
Even one of the highest-ranking nobles, Lord Ma'afu, stated just last week that the next Prime Minister should be a commoner. There's even talk King Tupou VI is in favour of it too. His eldest niece couldn't confirm that, but told us she is supportive of Lord Ma'afu's call.
I'm very supportive of any idea that works. In this day and age, you can't really be fussy of what stature, what status someone is, as long as they can do the job.
But another of the 9 nobles told us it's up to the next band of People's MPs to unite and ensure one of their own is elected.
Why can't the 17 elect a PM? I don't think the 9 House of Lords will say, look, please, no. By right, the 17 members has the majority.
Moala, however, says if the next PM isn't a commoner, civil unrest like that seen in 2006 cannot be ruled out.
Simply because you're looking at a situation where the Tongans are more poorer now than ever. The gap between the wealthy and the poor much wider now.
This week marks 8 years since rioters looted and torched much of the CBD in the capital Nuku'alofa. 8 people died as a result. The rioting had been sparked by delays in the kind of political reform which ultimately came about in 2010. Seeker agrees the re-election of a Lord as a PM could lead to future disturbances.
I will not be surprised if something happens, because that's exactly what had happened in the past in other countries, is when the system is not fully democracy.
Ironically, the echoes of the 2006 riots have other implications for Tonga's next leader. 8 years on, and most of the damaged buildings have either been repaired or rebuilt. Now, though, there's the matter of repaying the millions that Tonga borrowed from China in order to fund the rebuild. About 90 million Kiwi dollars were borrowed from China's state-owned Exim Bank, and then spent not only on sometimes lavish buildings, but also an expensive wharf and renovations at the Royal Palace.
There's been a lot of issues over how the money was spent and how it was controlled and how it was managed.
They go up to say 3-story buildings instead of 1 or 2. That's cost them a lot.
Those constructions that were built are not utilised. So we were expecting those who were going to rent the place to revolve the fund back in. Perhaps at the later stage, if we can't negotiate that, ask People's Republic of China to give us another leeway in terms of paying them back.
But repeated requests to have the loan written off have so far been unsuccessful, and repayments are due to start in 2019. This IMF World Bank report warned that as a result, Tonga's debt service burden is expected to rise sharply, substantially draining the government's cash balance. There are claims, though, the loan could be paid back with proceeds from the pending sale of rights to use 2 of Tonga's satellite slots.
The price tagged on it is in around 100 millions of US dollars. And we have opposed to this sale because this is a national asset, and we are worried that the same fate would happen as the fate of the millions of dollars that was generated in the sale of the 2 satellite slots around 2010.
What happened to that money?
Unfortunately, I cannot discuss it because it's now in court.
The government has clarified that it received no revenue from the lease, not sale, of those slots. Instead, the main beneficiary has been a company part-owned by the current king's sister. Under a new agreement, though, the government has taken those interests back and is set to potentially earn $1.5 million a year for the next 25 years. However, that money may well be needed for measures to fight the impact of climate change.
We used to go for a picnic in an island called Monwafe. In the last 2 years, it's disappeared completely. So it is a big, huge issue for us. But can we do anything about it?
We need to be educated more of what can we do with the limited resources that we have to help control and reduce the effects of climate change.
So much to consider for the voters of Tonga before they cast their ballots next Thursday. Results should be known that night.